Hey, in this 5-minute quickie, all I want you to do is just consider this. Think about this. Ask yourself, do I do this or don't I? I think I know the answer, but you have to listen to find out what the hell I'm talking about.
Hey, this is Paul Clough of Personal Development Unplugged, where we deconstruct the complicated and make things simple. Simple processes to make change as easily and as comfortable as we can.
This is Personal Development Unplugged with Paul Clough.
In simplicity, there is genius.
In simplicity, there is genius.
Hey friend, hope you're doing well. Just been doing some editing and just thinking about, well, a little bit of my journaling this morning, where it's been over the last few days really, where in my journals I've been kicking myself up the proverbial bum, giving myself a little bit of an old rollicking. Now, why would you do that, you ask? I know, thank you for being so kind to asking after me, but I think we all do it, don't we? Well, you don't know what it is, do you, I guess? So here's the thing. We're here for personal development. And personal development requires a little bit of thinking, because if you don't think about what you want first and how you want it and when you want it, so setting out that outcome in mind, setting your intention, then there's not much you can do on that personal development without that, is it? Because you need that starting point. And I wondered, and I was talking to myself, thinking, well, I think it's pretty difficult, but I got my puzzle book, my thinking book, and I actually wrote in my journal, I said, this is roughly what I said. You talk all about this puzzle book, Cluffy, but how often do you use it? And I thought to myself, well, I use it quite a lot. And then I asked myself, well, how often do you really use it? And I thought, well, that's the same question, isn't it? How often do you use it? How often do you really use it? Because I wrote that in capitals. And then it made me think, you see, how often do we actually put aside time to think? And not just randomly, because that's easy to do. Oh, I've got a bit of spare time. I'm bored. I'll have a think about something. But how often in this desire to be the best that we can, this desire to have the success in life that is ours, it's there for us to have. This passion to live a life of passion, to fulfill our missions and and realize what we're on this little old planet Earth for. How often do we actually schedule time to think, time to plan our thoughts, and then sit down with intention to just think? Think about an issue. Think about what you want. Think about when you want it. Think about how you want it. Think about maybe how you're going to get it. A little bit like a well-formed outcome. What's a well-formed outcome? Well, we can talk about that later sometime, but have a look at the paulcloughonline.com/podcast if you're not a member for the free downloads. There's one in there. There's a track in there to how to get a well-formed outcome. And that would help you think. Gives you the bullet points to start this process of thinking, but not just randomly. Because that's what I was doing. I was thinking. I was living my hype, as it were, a little bit. Because, I like to think about things. I like to think. Yeah, I do. But do I do it deliberately? Do I set time aside? I know, like the example of a writer. A writer doesn't just write when the feeling comes. A professional writer, a professional artist, sits down and says, I'm not leaving. This is my time. I've set this time aside to create, to be creative. And if nothing happens, they're going to sit there and wait. They're not going to give themselves an excuse and get off the hook and go somewhere else and fart around on bloody Facebook and things like that. No, they set their time and they say, this is it. This is my deep thinking time, my deep writing time, and it's scheduled. And that's what I think, well, maybe we should muse. Muse if you do things like that. And maybe muse even deeper. So set some time aside, if you would, like I'm doing. Set some time aside, deliberately scheduling some time to muse over how can I schedule and think so I can plan my successes and so they come quicker, bigger, better than I can ever dream of. Now that's got to give you a bit of excitement to say, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to sit down and think, and I'm going to schedule some time to think, and I'm going to put a time aside, X amount of minutes to think, and I'm going to set it up. I might have some music in the background. I might have a lovely little candle. I might just go to a cafe or whatever it is, but I'm going to put some time aside. I'll have my puzzle book, my journal to make notes, and I'm going to do it deliberately. Because when you do that, then you can start planning the when and the real hows. That was just something I wanted to muse about. And I think we're going to dive deeper into this of how we can really formulate a process inside, a habit of sitting down and thinking to create our life. Because that's where it starts. Inside with our imagination, everything in this world, everything, look around now. Everything you see, absolutely everything, started with a thought. Well, maybe not a tree. Everything man-made. Everything you're wearing, everything you're on your feet, what you're listening to, started with a thought. And then it was created. So I wonder what you can think of. What thoughts you're going to start with. But you have to do it by deliberately thinking. We'll dive deeper, I know, but I just wanted you to muse about it while I've got this few minutes in between doing a little bit of editing. Okay? Hope that's going to stimulate your thoughts and your diary. We'll talk about it later, okay? Have fun. Enjoy. Muse in a 5-minute quickie.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.